community, our hometown. This is Kearney Live on 102.7 FM, our hometown radio station. Kearney Live is presented by Kearney Trust, 310 West 92 Highway in Kearney, 816-628-6666. And now here's the hosts of Kearney Live, Mike Davis and Jim Dickerson.
Yeah, baby. That's right. Welcome to Kearney Live. You are here live. I'm your host, Mike Davis, and along with Jim Dickerson and producer engineer Brian Watts. And there are days when Brian will have an off day. I don't believe this is one of them. The reason I can tell is because he usually has a little sweat, a bead of sweat over his lip.
He's not sweating today,
right? And
so we're off to a good start.
So today that would indicate that he's got this down. He's nailing it today, and wow, are we proud of him. Nicely done, Brian. Thank you. And his mic's not on, but that's okay. I'll tell you what is fun today is we have Josh Hurlbert in studio with us today. And Josh,
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Jim, for having me.
Good to have you here. Thank you. And I was just going to let the folks know that you are running for Ken Wilson's seat.
Yep.
And he's running to keep you from catching his seat, which, we saw him run by a minute ago, and he was doing like a high step, right? Exactly, to get away from it. So thank you. Crickets.
Welcome to my world.
Exactly, Jim. I don't know that I deserve those. I thought that was kind of a funny visual. If you're a visual, no.
So here's the thing. For those of you who don't know, Mike said that before the show started. It wasn't funny then, and it's not funny now.
You have to try your lines out with the right audience, and I guess it didn't work.
I was going to say, okay.
Fair enough.
Hang on, I'm listening for laughter. Yeah, I don't hear it. Nope.
Exactly right. Well done on the cricket cue there. I loved it. So, Jim, is there anything going on in Kearney right now that folks need to know about, or specific to the radio station that you'd like to share with our audience, our listener? I guess that's a no.
No, actually. Just a couple of things. Number one, don't forget to join us tomorrow at noon for the Coach Gray Show as the Kearney Bulldogs get ready to face off against the Grain Valley Eagles. They're going to play Eagles 2 weeks in a row. Number two, I'll go ahead and throw it out there now. I'll talk about it during the show tomorrow, but I'll go ahead and throw it out there now. No, we won't be covering the game tomorrow at the Eagles because, as we've discussed before, they don't have the facility out there for us to broadcast. Their stadium's just not, it doesn't have all the new stuff. So we won't be able to broadcast from there. However,
what happened? There we go.
That's not good.
We're back.
There's a technique, and he's sweating. They don't have the facilities and all that. I'm sure.
Plus, Jim is not allowed to drive more than 25 miles from his home.
I always take the Oats bus. That's everybody. I think everybody knows that, so there's no secret there. But we will have the Coach Gray Show tomorrow, and then we will be back on Friday, October 2nd, when the Bulldogs take on the.
Oh boy, it's going to be a guessing game.
Nobody's got a schedule in front. Oh, my gosh. Is it Winnetonka?
I'm going to say Winnetonka, yes.
I'm not sure who it is, but anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll be back there 2 weeks, see out at the stadium then. And one final thing, just wanted to say a special thank you to Mark Strathman, Dr. Strathman over there at Kearney Chiropractic. They had a 9/11 event lunch on last Friday for first responders. We were over there, did a special edition of Kearney Live, and it was a great event. And thanks to all the first responders out there and everything else, we had a lot of fun. And thank you, Dr. Strathman, for having us out there for that. And with that, we go back to the ever popular, ever famous Mike Davis.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Josh Hurlbert, this is interesting. That what a crazy year 2020 has been. And indeed, it is. We've got a gigantic major election here coming up in November. So many things going on surrounding the election, and I think Would I be wrong to sort of roll COVID into the sort of weirdness that often happens during an election year?
No, you would not be wrong at all. I mean, COVID's fundamentally changing the way we're campaigning, what we're talking about, what we planned on talking about that we're not talking about now, because we've got to talk about COVID. It's a very serious issue.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I do want to talk about you, though, a little bit. Tell us a little bit. It says you're Smithville alderman, and we love the town of Smithville. It's just right down the road here. And what you do in life, and why did you decide? Let's just start out with your background a little bit. Let's talk about where you went to school and a little bit about you personally.
Sure. Well, I grew up here in Kearney. Then I married a Platte City girl and decided to split the difference and moved to Smithville.
I like that. Wow, very, very fair and equitable. I like it. Yeah.
So, been living in, always been here in northern Clay County. Grew up around here. Have a 4-year-old daughter, Rose, and a 2-year-old son, JJ, that keep me well on my toes, trying to keep up with them. But for the day job, I've worked for the past 11 years for Congressman Sam Graves on his staff. Been involved with the Smithville Rotary, been past president there, been on the Smithville Board of Aldermen the past couple of years. So just always been very involved with the community and doing everything I can to help make the Northland a better place.
And how is Sam?
Sam is he is what he always is. He is head in the clouds. He loves flying around. They've got a big commemoration flight over the D.C. Mall this weekend, so he is very much involved in that. But the day-to-day work out in Washington, I just passed the CR yesterday, so the government doesn't shut down here in 2 weeks. But it has been an interesting year for him as well. Whether it's doing more committee hearings from his own house and just promoting in the way they have to do so now, and just the way it's completely up into the year out in Washington. It's been an experience.
Are a lot of them, not to detract from you, but are a lot of them back in Washington now, or is it kind of hit and miss, like they're trying to do it remotely? I know there was a big...
Most of them are out in Washington. There are some that are at higher risk that the House is allowing for proxy voting, so they're voting remotely that way. But for the most part, most of the members are out in Washington.
Gotcha.
So you're running for the 12th district,
Yep,
is it?
12th House district.
Okay,
Yep.
Very good. And so much going on down in Jefferson City as well. And what are some of the things that are on your radar as you've been campaigning? And
Sure.
People are asking, I'm sure there are some specific things that the voters are asking to say, hey, you know what, I got this thing, and they all are kind of special interest type things, and there are some very, very general things. What's on your mind right now?
Sure. Well, of course, the main topic across the state, as we've been saying, is going to be coronavirus, COVID-19, and just how does the state respond to that? So they've got a $700 million budget crater that's been developed because of COVID-19. And then when you throw in the recently passed Medicaid expansion that we think is probably going to cost about $200 million, the states, they've got a big job coming up next year and trying to figure out where they're going to come up with these dollars or what they're going to cut to make it happen. It's going to affect our schools. It's probably fundamentally going to affect the foundation formula for our schools and how those are funded, because that's the largest piece of the pie that's not already spoken for. So they've got to cut from somewhere, and that's going to be a major spot. So that's going to be a very interesting discussion. But other topics you hear when you're going door to door, of course, it's transportation. What are you going to do for the potholes on the highway? And here in Missouri, I mean, we have one of the lowest, gas tax rates, and that's fine because gas tax fundamentally is on its way out the door. You can't, as the federal mandates are mandating that cars are more fuel efficient, that the market, people want to buy more fuel efficient cars,
right?
And not just electric, but hybrids, more fuel efficient vehicles. But I mean, the auto industry is expecting a quarter of the vehicle fleet to be electric by 2030.
Wow.
And those people, they're not paying a fuel tax that way. So when you keep putting put all your eggs in a fuel tax basket that's returning less and less on the investment, well, then of course you're going to have deficiency in your roads and bridges.
Right.
One of the things I think is interesting as it relates to the budget is And so here in Clay County, they have not seen the deficit that they were really expecting, which is kind of surprising. I know Bob Nance puts out a report every month, I think, when he puts it out. And we were expecting these huge deficits in tax revenue. We didn't see it. Now, I'm sure across the board, across the state, that's not universal.
Right.
But as it comes to the budget, at what point do we start to get to the point? We've talked about this on this show before. We've gotten into this thing where government is thought to be the salvation for all things and all people, and we tried to fund every little pet project out there. At what point do we get to the point where we have to start drawing back on that? We have to say, okay, look, we can't fund that, but we have to fund the things that are infrastructure, because I would say that's part of the key, correct?
Sure. It absolutely is. And you look at Missouri's budget, I mean, the largest share of it is existing Medicaid dollars, because the way it works out is, the federal government has the Medicaid standards, and they'll pay about 65% of it, and then the state has to come up with the other 35%. And that's taken off, the top of what the general revenue is. They don't have any. The state can't, negotiate that, first third of the budget. It comes straight from Medicaid dollars that way. So, and that's fine. I mean, we got to take care of everyone on Medicaid. No one's, arguing that fact, but it just means that everything else is just that much smaller going down the road. So where you draw that line, that's the annual discussion.
And I think that was, sorry to interrupt, but I think that's an interesting point about the Medicaid, because I think as people thought, well, of course, sure, I'm going to vote for that because it's going to increase those people who are on Medicaid.
Sure.
It's going to increase their benefit. But it's one of those things that I looked at as, before the election, that I don't know if that's such a great idea anyway. And as states are mandated to pay, what did you say it was, 35%? Mm-hmm. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
And so if the federal government says you have to do this thing, first of all, what happened to state sovereignty? But that's probably for another whole discussion.
Right.
But, in any case, folks are not always aware of those things as they look. And I think Jim made this point earlier. I think as you're looking at the benefits that sort of, I remember my brother-in-law used to call it Uncle Sugar, as Uncle Sugar, pays the tab on all of these things. People often forget, where the rest of the revenues come from. Mm-hmm. And that if you're continuing to raise these sorts of benefits throughout the states, then other things have to be impacted. And oftentimes that's roads and bridges, other essential things.
Right.
So how are we doing as we look at it? I remember I-70 used to be, we talk about roads and bridges, I-70 used to be the worst stretch of road in the country, I think, for the longest time between Kansas City and St. Louis. It was just a mess. And that seems to be getting cleaned up, although it's full of traffic.
Right.
And that's inconvenient for me. And it is all about me.
Yeah, we tried to pass a few years ago the Mike Davis Expressway. It failed in the Senate.
But but I think we seriously do. I think that's another thing we take for granted. This amazing interstate highway system we have, and even at the state and county level, the roads we have are just amazing. And you can, but for a couple of exceptions, and I think I noticed one here earlier that you mentioned. I-29 and Missouri 92, and we're all familiar with that one. Let's talk about 92. What are we going to do about that?
Well, right now, there's not much the state can do. MoDOT's pretty cash-strapped. I mean, they got hit with COVID as well because people stopped driving around as much. So even the people that, the gas tax revenues were not coming in for that as well. So they put a halt on a bunch of projects across the state because of that. But 92, I mean, we've got to get shoulders. I mean, we probably need to get a third turning lane just to make things a little bit safer as well, and expand that all the way from Excelsior to Platte City or even Leavenworth at that point.
Yeah.
But, we've got to do something more than what we have here on Highway 92, because it's been that stretch from Excelsior to Platte City has been rated one of the deadliest in the state. And it's about time we do something to try and help alleviate some of that.
And that goes further to kind of illustrate my point. The problem is we have all these little, if you truly look at the budget, which I realize nobody does. But if you truly look at the budget, I think people would be shocked to see some of the things that are actually listed in the budget. Like you've got Mary's home for abused tires or some weird thing. I mean, there are, well, I'm trying not to pick a real thing. And I doubt there's too many homeless camps for abused tires.
There are roads you will drive on that will clearly abuse your tires.
I was trying to pick something obscure, but I do remember from my days of looking at budget stuff, there were so many times, and in the state, it's in the city budget, it's in the state budget, where you read it and you're like, what is this? And then they'll go, well, we've done that forever and blah, blah, blah. But there comes a point where this stuff, like you're talking about, 92 Highway, just as an example, not just 92 Highway, but 92 Highway, and the ability to, it's not only to save lives, but to prevent injury, because the injuries cost money too. Because when people get hurt, especially if they get hurt permanently, you have all the costs associated with hospital visits, surgeries, ongoing care. That costs money. And so at what point do we start to pull back from these, I'll call them pet projects, and focus on the things that we need to focus on, the infrastructure?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's generally when it comes to the state transportation budget, general revenue has not been used for roads and bridges. That's all come from the fuel tax, from other means that way. What they try to do, the other thing that comes out of that fuel tax is also payment for the State Highway Patrol, which is why they tried to pass a couple of years ago a tax specifically for the State Highway Patrol, so all the gas tax could be solely spent on roads and bridges. That failed, so that's still a hybrid system that way. But when it comes to, we're about to that point where if we want to just maintain the system we have, let alone try to upgrade roads like Highway 92 or do anything for safety enhancements that way, we're going to have to start taking general revenue dollars that we already don't have to fund that. So we've got to develop a 21st century model for transportation tax that to replace the fuel tax.
Go ahead.
So because the fuel tax is, it's 20th century, it's regressive, it's increasingly just hitting rural and low-income families harder because they're the ones that can't buy that hybrids or the electric cars. So you're putting all your eggs on them, on the backs of that demographic to try and pay for your roads, and it doesn't work out. So we've got to switch to something that's more of a user base, that tracks your miles year to year, that you pay for the mileage that you use that way. How you do that is the question right now, and that's a discussion they're having on the federal level, and it's trickling down into Jeff City as well.
No doubt about it. We're visiting today with Josh Hurlbert. He's running for the Missouri District 12 representative position here in your own state of Missouri. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Say thank you to these local businesses who support KPGZ.
Simplify your banking, simplify your life. It's easy with Kearney Trust Company. The world has become fast-paced, and we understand that you are busy. That's why we offer a banking experience that's as simple and stress-free as can be. Kearney Trust goes beyond convenient locations and good customer care to offer banking services that make managing your finances quicker and easier than ever before. Online, bill pay, e-statements, and mobile banking are available to give you a positive banking experience so you can get back to your life and activities. Kearney Trust also provides capital to people and businesses so they can achieve their goals. Whether you know exactly what you want or just need someone to talk to about your dream, you can speak with them and work on that dream. You may just be getting off the ground or ready to move into your brick and mortar building. Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And we're back on Kearney Live. I'll take a little bit more of that headset you just took away from me. Thank you, Brian. That's Brian Watts at the controls, our producer, engineer.
When you yell at Brian like that, he starts to sweat.
No.
He's sweating over there.
He's cool as a cucumber. I'm looking at him right now, looking really good. We're back on Kearney Live, and we're visiting today with Josh Hurlbert. He is running for District 12 representative here in the state of Missouri, and we're talking about all kinds of things, roads and bridges and all those kinds of things like that. And what else is going on here that is important to you as you're going down there? People are saying, hey, Josh, we've got all kinds of things going on in the state, and these are important to me. What are you going to do about it?
Sure.
And surely do people just stop you and like maybe in the grocery store and say, how are you going to fix this? Does that ever happen?
It does happen. You get the Smithville Price Chopper, it absolutely happens.
Right.
And
what do you tell them? Don't bother me. Can't you see I'm shopping? I'm trying to get a good deal on hamburger.
I was going to say, could you point me to the grapes, please?
But when I've talked with people here across the Northland, the thing that's always stuck out to me the most is the potential of the Northland. We have the space, and more importantly, we have the people that can really, drive the Kansas City metro area forward for the next 20 years. For example, we just had a $6 billion data center that wants to build in the 12th district just south of Smithville.
That's big.
Right. That's going to be a huge investment. And it's a testament to the people we have here, the education system we have here, and the infrastructure we have in place here in the Northland. So it's not a big job creator, but it is a driver of economic development here in the Northland, having something like that right off of 435 and 169.
And that would be in the Smithville city limits?
Not Smithville city limits. It's actually KMO city limits at that point. But it's it's on the north side of 435, right behind Vineyard Church there, that intersection. They're building a big old data center. So when you have that kind of development coming into the Northland, I mean, that's huge. That just shows, where people are starting to take notice of us, that, we can be in a leadership position in the city. And so, we have so much potential here in the Northland. I just hate to see it go to waste. I hate to see bad policies coming out of Jeff City that can limit that potential, whether, you're talking over regulation, over taxation, whether it's, defund the police type stuff. I mean, we have such a good situation here in the Northland that I hate to see it go to waste. I mean, like we said earlier, I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I want them to have the same kind of Northland that I grew up in.
You bet. Yeah.
Doesn't Smithville have another business moving in that's going to open up here in about a week or two?
Well, I'm not sure they haven't already. And
they're having a grand opening.
It is.
Yes.
Isn't it this weekend?
It is.
I'm trying to remember the date. I believe.
Why are we
because I'm looking at.
We're all staring around each other.
But yeah, the Porter's Hardware in Smithville is opening up. It's actually already opened up. The grand opening.
I was thinking that the 21st was the grand opening. That's why I was
I thought they had a grand opening weekend.
Yeah,
a whole weekend event.
Yeah, the weekend sales are happening this week.
I am so happy right now. I brought this up.
I am too. The
Porters, you're welcome.
We appreciate them. They are a sponsor of ours.
I appreciate them. I wish I knew what the date was.
I know.
I could probably look it up.
And that's what you put us on the spot here, but that's all right.
My bad.
No, it's all good. We appreciate Porters. But I think, and also the Price Chopper is new, right?
It's not open yet. It's going to be opening up in October.
Okay. So but that's a huge anchor.
Oh, absolutely.
Right up there where Porter's is now.
Correct.
Porter's Ace Hardware. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Smithville is going through a boom itself.
It is.
So, Kearney's gone through it here with your new Price Chopper and the new development.
Yes.
There at the intersection of 35 and 92. So it's, the whole Northland is booming right now. We've got a lot of good people here. We've got a lot of good systems in place and policies in place to manage that growth. So it's a good spot to be at.
Right, no doubt about it. We love. What is it about the Northland? Isn't it funny? You're looking at a couple of guys here that for the most part we've lived here for the better part of our lives, if not all of our lives, and you don't leave for whatever reason, I know so many people. I mean, obviously, there are folks who've moved on to other different places for, jobs take them there, families take you there. But there's just something special, and I've never been able to really put my finger on it about the Northland that makes people want to stay. There's a quality of life here that I've never been able to quite put my finger on and say, this is it. That's that one thing. What is it in your estimation that makes the Northland so special?
It's a mix of things. I mean, you have the space to grow. You can raise your family here. We have great communities. We have great relationships with our churches, with our city leadership, with our police departments, fire departments, you name it. We have it up here because we get along together well. We don't antagonize each other. We don't try and tear each other apart.
Except on Friday nights when it's a football game between Kearney and Smithville.
Exactly. At that point in time. Yeah.
And by the way, speaking of building each other up, the Porter's grand opening weekend is the 25th through the 27th. Only in Smithville, Missouri. Porter's, we're here to help.
Thank you for that, Jim. No, I'm sure Kent appreciates that, and we appreciate him and all the people and frankly, the Porters go back a century. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, just terrific people, and yes, we appreciate them. You bet. But in any case, I think you can. And in fact, I'm not sure you mentioned the schools and all of that when we were giving the accolades to the Northland, but there's no doubt about it. These are some of the finest schools that you would ever hope to be, to send your
Absolutely.
kids to.
Absolutely. That's one of the big drivers people want to move up here is because of the school system that we have, whether it's Kearney, Smithville, Platte County, you name it. This district has 6 different school districts as a part of it. So the whole Northland just has a really solid education system. It's a very cohesive environment, and it's where people want to, raise their families.
Yeah, I mean, there are people clamoring to get in the North Kansas City School District with Staley. And I mean, it's the newest school up here,
it is,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, and what about Liberty North? Did they beat them? I'm not sure. And as far as
Liberty North might be newer, yeah.
Right.
Staley's the newest in the North Kansas City School District.
But you look at the homes that are built around these schools that are new within, just recently within the last 5-10 years tops. And so the infrastructure is here. And I think, like you say, we've got the space, and as you see, different businesses coming in, and the commercial aspect of the kinds of businesses that are coming to serve these communities that are building up around us, and you look around and you go, this is awesome.
Well, and people want to work where they live.
Yeah.
So the jobs are going to be moving up here because that's where the population is. That's where we have a workforce ready to go, ready to serve these businesses. So let's get on it, and let's not put in bad policies that would just be detrimental to that growth.
Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid.
Exactly.
That Kearney School District, man, it is awesome. Kearney, number 1.
I was hoping to hear at least an applause, a smattering of hand clapping, the golf clap maybe. There we go. That's for Kearney Bulldogs. There you go. Thank you, Brian.
But in all reality, you're right, because when we have people in here, and one of the things we'll ask them is, why'd you come to Kearney? And they'll always say the school district. So the school district, you're right, is solid. Good place to get an education.
And then they say what, Jim? The radio station, right?
Well, because they to be 100% honest, they look at me and say, because of you.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. That's enough of that. But anyway, back to reality.
Well, we know it's not because of Mike. I mean, let's just say.
No. In fact, if
now
anything,
you're just being ridiculous.
That sends them running the other direction. When did you decide, Josh, that I'm going to run
for
state representative? For state representative.
So I first ran for state representative in 2012 against Ken Wilson in the primary that year.
I see.
What'd we learn? How he was?
I'm
there,
a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, he was there for a long time though. How long was he in that seat?
Well, he is finishing up his 8 years. So there's 8-year term limits in the state house. So you run for 4 2-year terms and then you're done. So he's terming out, and he asked me to go ahead and run in his spot. It's been something that, obviously I've been interested in 2012. And this is a good lesson to all your kids out there that don't burn your bridges behind you.
I was just going to say that because it's probably good that you didn't, Ken's a horrible person and all that stuff because now.
I mean, we're two very similar individuals, both faith, family, and serving our community. So, the fact that he won the election by 74 votes. It was close, but you can't harbor that against him. I mean, because he's going to be he was a great state representative for Kearney and Smithville. So
did he do? I can't remember, and you may not know. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what did he do before that? Wasn't he?
He was the Smithville police chief for a decade.
That's right. Okay, I remember that. Yeah, we talked about that, and I couldn't remember, but yeah,
we had him on the show here a while back, but and he was a good guest. Now, would he be the kind of guy that you could sort of use as a mentor as your?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was talking. I actually was driving around with him a little bit earlier this morning. So he is absolutely someone that I would look towards to help out him and Doug Ritchie, who represents the southern part of Kearney and then down into Liberty and Excelsior, are both good friends and people that I would absolutely look for advice on issues and just to get their temperature on everything.
Right. What's it like to go down to be I guess they would call you a freshman representative then in Jeff City. Then what's it like to go down there, and then what's that going to be like as you, assuming you get elected? What are your plans? I mean, is it a little overwhelming to think about that, going down to the Capitol?
Well, from what I've heard, you spend half the time trying to find where the bathroom's at in the Capitol. So
I'm still trying to figure out where the bathroom is in this building.
So being a freshman, it's a very you learn a lot that first year. It's a lot of listening. It's a lot of learning what the process is to get a bill through, what it is to build a coalition, a lot of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of watch and learn. I think I have a little bit of a head start on some of that because I've been involved on the congressional side for over a decade now. So it's, I think a lot of that I kind of have a head start on, but it is absolutely going to be an experience. It's going to be something very different, something I'm excited and looking forward to.
Yeah. Did they make you watch that video? I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill.
One of the things I've done before is I teach a Citizenship in the Nation merit badge
for Scouts.
For Scouts, yeah.
Awesome.
So, and that is absolutely one of the videos I show every time. And you see their eyes glazing over, and then you play that video, and it's like, oh!
It's a good bit. It's a good video.
I wish we had it.
We have
to
some
play.
people probably in our legislature now that maybe ought to watch that video. I'm just saying. They might learn something.
They might.
That's all I've got to say about that.
You said, and I'm looking here.
Mike, back to you.
Well, you got to keep it going, Jim. This is real live radio. JoshHurlbert.com, in case anybody wants to know where the website is. You want to find out a little bit more about Josh Hurlbert. There it is. I love that. State Representative District 12 in Missouri. And you've got to join the team, endorsements, and let's find out who's endorsing you. Let's just see what kind of people. Oh, look at there, community leader Sam Graves and Dan Hegeman. He's a state senator, and it goes on down here. And I do see Ken Wilson on there. There's quite a few.
That would almost be embarrassing if Sam didn't endorse you.
Right.
Exactly.
Worked there for 11 years and still can't get the endorsement.
That wouldn't be one of those things we would call a positive.
Right. A couple of really good ones down here. Missouri Right to Life. I like that. International Association of Firefighters, Local 42. The NRA, I'm a big fan of them. And Missouri Cattlemen's Association and the Missouri Republican Assembly. A wonderful group of
recently, we just got the National Federation of Independent Businesses as well.
Love those guys, too. In the years that I have spent as an independent business owner, I can tell you those guys knocked on my door, I think, from the very beginning, and they were relentless. I could never say no to them. And when I found out what they did and what they've do across the nation for independent businesses,
absolutely,
you take care of these guys because they're looking out for you.
Well, and I was going to say, as we talk about business, let's talk about small business for a second. What are we going to do? We're going to have to do something. We're losing businesses at an alarming rate because of this whole shutdown thing. What are we going to do to help get some of these businesses back? We got to get them up and running. Some of them have gone away and won't come back.
Right.
So what are your thoughts about, what are we going to do looking forward to get some of these businesses back up and rolling?
Well, and that was the point of the CARES Act that came out of Washington this past spring, was to get an infusion of dollars into these local areas so that they could help these businesses stay open. I think I just saw this week that the Armory here in Kearney was closing up shop permanently because of they just couldn't keep it open because of COVID. So
I'm unaware.
Now, I do know that the city of Kearney just allocated $300,000 over to the school district out of the CARES Act. So that was good. I mean, the CARES Act was hugely important, and I know we're stalled right now arguing over another CARES Act. But yeah, continue, because we got to get funding back in here somehow.
Right. And so you've seen Smithville did it and Kearney did it as well, but they had a CARES Act grant program. I think Shauna, who I worked with back on Congressman Graves' staff, Shauna Searcy, she helped put that program together for Kearney businesses that they could apply and get grant money to try and help stay afloat and just meet what they had to do during this pandemic period. And when all of us are just, all these businesses are just shaken up a little bit here and trying to make ends meet. So, trying to get those dollars that are still out there. I mean, Kearney and Smithville had over $900,000 that they could spend on COVID-related expenses. Well, the cities didn't have that much. That's why they created these grant programs and why they have been putting more money into it. So using those taking advantage of those opportunities that the federal government has put out there just to help, if we're going to drive a truck through your business and, force you to shut down or force you to, make changes to how you operate, add, PPP and everything else or PPE and everything else that you have to be able to safely be open,
right,
then the federal government needs to, have this response. And we need to make sure that these business owners know it's available and take advantage of it.
Well said. We're visiting today with Josh Hurlbert. He's running for state representative here in your state of Missouri, 12th District. Going to replace Ken Wilson, sounds to me like. We're hoping.
Absolutely.
Stay with us. We'll be right back on Kearney Live.
Without the support of community underwriters, we wouldn't be here. So a huge thanks to these particular businesses for supporting KPGZ.
Simplify your banking, simplify your life. It's easy with Kearney Trust Company. The world has become fast-paced, and we understand that you are busy. That's why we offer a banking experience that's as simple and stress-free as can be. Kearney Trust goes beyond convenient locations and good customer care to offer banking services that make managing your finances quicker and easier than ever before. Online, bill pay, e-statements, and mobile banking are available to give you a positive banking experience so you can get back to your life and activities. Kearney Trust also provides capital to people and businesses so they can achieve their goals. Whether you know exactly what you want or just need someone to talk to about your dream, you can speak with them and work on that dream. You may just be getting off the ground or ready to move into your brick and mortar building. Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
And welcome back to Kearney Live. I'm your host, Mike Davis, along with Jim Dickerson and producer-engineer Brian Watts right here on 102.7 FM, KPGC, every noon live here on this radio station. You get to hear Kearney Live. And we are big fans of Kearney Trust Company. Why? Because they sponsor this very show. And we are visiting today with Josh Hurlbert. Josh, welcome back.
Well, thank you.
You didn't go away. We're glad.
No, I'm still here.
It would have been tough to sort of take care of if you left the studio here. We talked about folks coming up to you in the shopping centers and grocery stores and so forth and saying, hey, fix this. What are you going to do about this? And so on and so forth. But I'm sure that you have what we refer to here as a stump speech. just to give you the opportunity. I know there are things that are near and dear to you that as you're pointing toward Jefferson City and becoming the next state representative here in District 12, what are some of the things if you were on the back of an old railroad car and you could talk to all of the citizens, what would you say to those people?
Good evening. And welcome.
Well, speaking on the back of a railway car might be the only way we can campaign during COVID.
Oh, isn't that? I know you had to remind me. I know it's so true.
But like I said, the Northland has so much potential right now, and I just hate to see those bad liberal policies really derail what we have the opportunity to accomplish here in the Northland. Whether it's policies that overregulate and overtax, whether it's policies that would defend the police departments, whether they would, attack our Second Amendment or the right to life,
right,
or, that would leave us in a perpetual lockdown when it comes to coronavirus. I mean, yes, we need to take precautions, wear your mask when appropriate and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we have Smithville played Raytown South on Friday, and we had parents that went down there to watch their seniors play from their own cars. They weren't allowed in stands. Okay, I get it. Jackson County has different rules, but then the health department was forcing the school to kick the parents out of their cars and out of the parking lot where they were trying to watch from their car. I mean, where's the science in that? I mean, there's a balanced approach that we're missing there, and I just we need to do a better job down in Jeff City, and I look forward to trying to manage that balanced approach because it's going to be the COVID response is going to be a major discussion point down in Jeff City this spring.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to the people here, or the school district in Kearney, because what happened was in the very first game of the year, as it relates to football, we were supposed to play Fort Osage, Jackson County, and Jackson County wasn't going to let. I don't remember if it was the game. They weren't going to let fans in. I know that. And Kearney went through, and we got the game moved up here, and it allowed for not only the Kearney parents to see the game, but we allowed for the Fort Osage parents to get in, and they actually had a good turnout on the Fort Osage side to watch that game. And so these kids playing football, and I know there's a contingent out there that's like, why do kids need to play football? It's much deeper than that. So some of these kids are, number one, they've been doing this their whole lives, working up to this. Mm-hmm. Number two, for their senior year, that's what I was going to say, their senior year, you don't get to repeat that. Well, hopefully Mike did, but that was a whole nother story. What'd you repeat it like twice?
Oh, good grief. Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Crickets.
Number three, it didn't work. Yeah. Number three, and more importantly, though, and in all seriousness, there's scholarship money attached to this. And so when these kids don't get seen by the scouts or whatever, they don't get that scholarship money. We've got to stop doing this to the kids. I mean, we are destroying so many things going forward that it's going to take forever to try and fix. And plus, if you have a kid that doesn't get to go to college because they didn't get the scholarship money, that doesn't just affect them for a year. That affects them their whole life going forward. So we've got to, my question was where I was going with this, other than thanks to Kearney School District for doing that, is what kind of battle do you guys face? Because there's so much now in the realm of conflicting information that's coming out. Just at surface level, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. You have to wear a mask. You 6 feet, 12 feet, 6 minutes for more, or 6 feet for more than 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes. It changes every 7 seconds, 6 seconds. From a legislative standpoint, where do you go? What do you do?
Right. There's been a whole lot of assembling the aircraft mid-flight going on when it comes to COVID and our response. I think we're starting to finally get our arms around what it is and, what the populations are that we need to protect. I mean, kids, for the most part, they're, as long as they're not at high risk, they're going to be just fine. But there's high risk populations that we need to take care of. But when you do shutdowns like we did, complete shutdowns like we did this spring, when it comes to these kids, it's not just the scholarships like you were talking about, but it's also, just the overall education. I mean, how many kids, I know there were quite a few kids that, never logged in or did anything that second half of the spring semester because none of the grades were tied to it. Nothing else was, being accomplished by signing into that portal, so they just blew it off. So how many kids are being set back because of the decisions we made to shut down? So, there's going to be some serious discussions down in Jeff City about, how some of these counties responded. It was good that the state didn't do overarching, mandates, because, it's completely different from, Tarkio or Worth County or Bethany to what's happening in inner city Kansas City, just like it's different from North Kansas City to Kearney. It's just a very wide-ranging state. But the way it's been done by some of these local health departments, there's just no science behind it. So,
well, not only that, but okay. So when this thing first came in, we didn't know what we were dealing with, and we shut down. I have no problem with that. I get it. I understand it. We didn't know what we were dealing with. As this thing is mutated, and as we've learned more, here's where I have the problem: we're not keeping up with what's going on. So one of the biggest things, I'll use sports because a lot of people are paying attention to this, but it's happening in school districts as a whole. We've gotten into this thing where if you come down with your test positive for the coronavirus, then everybody that was near you, we have to pull out, we quarantine them and everything else. But here's what's happening, and it's happening over and over. Number one, the person who tested positive was asymptomatic. They didn't have any symptoms. Normally, you wouldn't test them. You wouldn't test them for anything else in the world. Why are we continuing to test asymptomatic people? Then we pull the people they were in contact with out of circulation, so they can't go to school. They can't do anything else. And they're not coming down with the virus either. Mm-hmm. So we're disrupting everything we're doing for nothing. And we do it outside of schools. We do it in businesses. Mm-hmm. We have to shut this business down for 7 days because someone tested positive, even though they were asymptomatic, and there's no evidence that shows that those people are spreading it. How does the legislature, I mean, this is one of those things where government, I don't know how you do it. That's why I'm asking. Government notoriously works slow. Right. It takes forever for anything to happen. We don't have that kind of time because we are destroying people's lives for really, for what's turning out. I got to be careful how I say that. I don't want to say for nothing, but we're not doing what's the science is telling us. And you have people who say, follow the science, and then they turn around and do the exact opposite. So from a legislative standpoint, how do you fix that?
And that is going to be, there's going to be 150 bills filed on the coronavirus response. We've got to have the discussions with healthcare providers, with schools, and have an overarching, discussion. Okay, what went wrong, and how can we stop it from keeping going wrong? Because the vaccine is going to come this fall for limited amounts. It's not going to be available to widespread probably till spring or summer of next year. So,
but the funny thing is about the vaccine is, as it gets closer and closer, more and more people say, "I'm not going to take it." Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, we've got to have a vaccine, mm-hmm. and now it's like, okay, you have. Oh well, I'm not going to do that. Well, then what was the point of that? So you want to hear my prediction?
I don't know, Jim. I'm not sure I do.
Yeah, you do.
I'm going to hear it anyway.
So you know how you watch TV and you see all those commercials? Have you been exposed to talc? If you touch talc in the last 73 years, there is going to be, were you affected by the coronavirus because of a shutdown? There are going to be lawsuits galore coming. They've already started in New York.
That's what has extended a lot of this.
That is going to be, the liability laws are going to be a topic number one down the state, because we can't open up our businesses to those lawsuits.
And for that reason, it's understandable that there are, for example, dentist's office, there are doctors' offices who are, let's just say, covering their rear ends right now, who are masking up, and they've got the plexiglass and every manner of protection that if you've been to your doctor's office or your dentist recently, you know what I'm talking about. And as you talk to the physicians and the dentists, they are so much in lockstep to keep this thing running, because just think about it from their point of view. If they have one patient who has COVID and spreads it around in their practice, they're done. I get it. I completely get that. But I think at some point we've got to put the brakes on this thing and stop the silliness. And I agree. Follow the science and so forth. We could spend another hour on this. And I think we're all like-minded. And I think there are many of our listeners who would agree. But I think, yes, you can't shut down a country. You can't shut down a state. You can't shut down a city. just
and keep it shut down forever.
Yes.
You know, it's funny because you're right. You walk into your doctor's office, you feel like you're walking onto the Death Star. All these stormtroopers come out; they're completely covered.
I agree, and it's very troubling. So, hopefully, Josh, we can get some legislation to correct the wrong way.
Sure.
That we responded to this.
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's going to be a major discussion point down in Jeff City, how these county health departments responded, how we can protect businesses from liability and lawsuits, and do everything we can to just make sure that these businesses have a fighting chance right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Thanks so much. I know we've got a little bit of time left, but I just wanted to mention that I'm glad you joined us today, and I wish you a lot of luck as the election comes around. What do you do in the last couple of weeks or so as we're leading up to the election? Actually, a few weeks. We've got 40 some odd days now, or
a little
less?
over 40. Yeah. So it is. What we're going to be doing is a lot of doors. So. A lot of trying to catch people where we can at doors. I mean, COVID campaigning has just been mind-boggling how you do it.
You can't go door to door. Well, I mean, I guess you can, but you're going to freak people out.
Right, exactly. So we were going door to door and, just dropping pieces of literature in their door, trying to, get the name out there. But at the same time, you don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get on the other side. So,
well, I just saw this morning because Amazon came out with this new. Have you heard about the Amazon Room? There are people that are building rooms because they want their packages to sit in this room for 48 hours to make sure it was the silliest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, this is the kind of nonsense we're talking about.
Right, but I bring that up because from a political standpoint, even if you want to put literature in the door, there's a segment of the population out there that's going to think,
touch it.
Yeah, that's going to sit there for a week until it gets rained on or whatever, and then you can't read it anyway. So. From a political standpoint, that's got to be rough.
It is completely up into the way you campaign. So we'll do what we can on doors. We'll put some mail out there. We'll do as much as we can on social media because that's kind of been the best way to reach out to folks is to try and get them on social media, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of deal. But it is a bold new frontier that we're going through right now.
Oh, no doubt.
And I don't wish to repeat it.
No, not at all.
Well,
most of us don't.
You can't even do a typical fundraising dinner or whatever because you can only have 7 people there and your staff is probably 6 of them, and then you got this one person. Yeah, you're great.
You got to try and have it outdoor, and that's quickly running out of time for that before it starts to get too cold.
Yeah. Right. So what are we going to do when it gets cold? Which is as you say, what, a month away? Some of these nights are actually cool.
Already had some in the 40s, yeah.
Right. Well, I tell you this: anybody can go to joshhurlbert.com and click right through there, and there's all kinds of ways that they can help you out and read a little bit more about what you're doing. Right.
Absolutely. Got my email on there. Got my cell phone number on there. So if you dial the number on there, you actually get it right here.
Wow.
So that is, I'm happy to do that. That's on all my business.
I'm call him right
I know.
now.
I was going to say it's going to start ringing right
so
now.
That is on all my literature website. Everything else is my personal cell phone number. So I'm happy to talk to you. Happy to discuss the issues. Happy to do what we can to benefit Kearney, Smithville, and the rest of the 12th district.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know you mentioned too your faith-based campaign and so forth. And I'm just curious, as your church has completely opened up now from COVID, or how's that working?
By Clay County rules, we're at 50% capacity, but so we've got families that are watching online. So it's on. Actually, I do a lot of the live stream stuff for our church. So I'm up in the sound booth with headphones on, trying to make sure that everything gets produced well. I try to do my best Brian impersonation. It doesn't always work out for me, but I really do try.
Do you sweat like he does? Do you get that little sweat?
Only when the live stream doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what happens to him. It's funny because here in the studio, we have the cameras and whatnot, and we can see. We can't tell if everything's working okay or not. But if I glance over and I see Brian over there and he's got sweat coming off and all that, I'm like, okay, something is amiss. I have no idea what it is.
It's like being on an airplane. If the pilot's sweating, then you should be nervous. Yep.
How would you even see that?
I know. Well,
if you see the pilot sweating, that's a problem in and of itself. Why are you back here, sir?
Why are you changing the subject?
No, there it goes.
There it is.
I blame you. That's what happens when the show turns into a train wreck.
I will say this, Josh, that it has changed the way that people go to church and worship, though, because I've seen, it is all over the place. And in fact, what has happened is the production value has improved because they've had to.
Right.
So good for you.
But how do you collect? How do you...
The tithe.
It's a little hard to pass the plate, isn't it?
We don't. If we just have a slot in the wall that we ask people to donate or to do it online is the bigger thing.
So you're at home and you put it in the slot in the wall, it kind of comes right back to you.
Yeah, our church is about 150, 200 people, and it's we never had an online live stream or did any sort of video work that way. And we quickly had to learn how to do it. It's gone from week one that it was my phone live streaming it on Facebook Live to something bigger production value, like you were saying.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it.
It's times like these that I wish I had invented Zoom.
Exactly. Everyone who got on that bandwagon, bought stock, got really good.
There's one I missed out on.
Or Velcro. You'd be richer. Yep. What? I'm just going to let it sit here, Jim.
Oh, there we go. That's how we bail ourselves out of that one.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you to Kearney Live for sponsoring the silliness that they actually pay for this. Thank you so much in a lot of ways. And thank you, Josh. Good luck to you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yep. Glad to be here.
Remember
Election Day, don't forget it.
November 3rd.
November 3rd.
Go to joshhurlbert.com. That'll take care of it. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week on Kearney Live. Who's going to be on with us next week, Brian? Next week, we've got Lydia McAvoy, who's running for the county commissioner, one of the county commissioner seats. Awesome. Well, we'll see Lydia next week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for being with us. See you later.